We're going to do a quick demo of how to use PearDeck with your Google Slides. I have here a slide deck utilizing a kindergarten separating stories example. And we're going to go through this example, seeing the different tools that PearDeck has. So to begin, I'm going to click on the PearDeck menu at the top in order to activate PearDeck. This is an add-on. You can just do a Google search for PearDeck in Chrome and it will pull it right up for you. So I've already created my PearDeck slides. I'm now going to show you what it looks like on both the teacher and student side. So I'm going to start my lesson. It now gives me a choice. Are the students going to engage in this activity on their own in a self-paced or asynchronous method? Or are you going to do it in real time at the same time as the student, which would be a synchronous method? So I'm going to demonstrate the synchronous method for you. It's now turning it into present mode and it's saying, "Oop, you've already done a session with this. Do you want to continue with that class or do you want to start a new session?" So I'm going to start a new session. Normally I'm already logged in, but I must have been logged out. Make sure you use your district credentials as you do get a free educator account. So use your EDU email address. Now once it launches, it's also going to pop up a presenter view for me as the teacher, and that presenter view will have a join code for the students. At this time, I'm also going to demonstrate what this looks like for the students on the student computer. So over here, I have my iPad that's demonstrating what I would see as a student. And my presenter view is still loading. Here we go. So it's just giving me some information about how to use PearDeck. And it's giving me the class code. Today I've got broke ninjas, x-ray, hilarious turnips. So the student on their device would simply enter in that code, BNXHT. Let's see. And it automatically, I didn't even hit enter or OK or anything. As soon as it recognizes the code, it goes ahead and it populates the student right into that slide deck. So I'm going to close the join code as the teacher. Now I do want to point out as the teacher that I have this screen right on top here that I'm actually going to just make a little bit smaller so that it fits over here. And I also have this screen behind in the background. I'm going to show you what that screen looks like really quickly so you can see. I accidentally went to the next slide. I'm just going to go back there. So this is also the teacher screen just to show you what the students are seeing. However, on the students version, they're not seeing the menu at the bottom. So some people might get a little bit confused about this. Just to be clear, PearDeck is offering two different ways to engage with the students or with the interface. So it has this at the bottom where I can skip back and forth and I can create a new prompt, and there's a menu button right here where I can I have some features I can choose from, and I can also end the session. Or I can use this smaller window that gives me this presenter view. It has the same menu at the bottom. It just tells me what slides are coming up next, and it will also show me the students' responses. Two ways to do pretty much the same thing. So on the right-hand side, you see the student view, and on the left-hand side, you see the teacher view. So on the student view, I'm going to tap into that video just to show you that on the student view, it goes ahead and it will try to play the video. Unfortunately, something's wrong with my video, but that's okay. That's not the point of this anyway. So I'm just going to go ahead and zip right back to our presentation. I do want you to see that the video does not play for the student within PearDeck. It does open YouTube. There are ways around that, but that is a shortcoming, that it does send them to YouTube, especially if students are not able to access YouTube for whatever reason. As the teacher, I'm going to move on to the next screen. And you see here it says waiting for responses. I can see behind here what the student sees. And I did also use a method as a teacher where I can still see the instructions at the bottom of the screen, but I've just covered the other pieces that I don't want the student to engage with yet. If you were in a traditional slide deck, this would actually be something that you could just slide up and down if you wanted to allow the students to see the other problems down below. In this view, I'd also like you to see that it shows at the bottom that I can lock the screen, I can show responses, I currently don't have any responses, and I can add a new prompt. And in this presenter view screen, it's also showing me that there are currently no responses. So let's switch over to the student side and enter a response. You'll see on the screen it says enter number here. So let's enter the number 2. And it now says that there's 1 response out of 1 student who's currently here with us. It shows the student's response on this grid here. I could also click grid layout and it shows. Now, this is also important to note that because PearDeck is not requiring students to log in with any sort of account, all of their responses are anonymous. And as you'll notice on the student screen, it doesn't tell the student what their anonymous name is. So I see here Saberto something or other, but I don't know who that student is. So it's important for you to notice, so it says avatar saber-tooth tiger. I don't know who saber-tooth tiger is. If you're using PearDeck, you need to understand that you're collecting data in this way anonymously. There is a way for students to create accounts. Please check with your district admin to see if you have a whitelisted data agreement with PearDeck to make sure that you're not giving out student information illegally. So I have all of my students' responses here. I'm going to go ahead on to the next screen. And now you can see, it keeps flipping over. So now you can see the students are being asked for number 4. Caitlin shows 5 cubes. She takes 1 away. How many cubes are left on the mat? And the student view on the right has a multiple choice question. So is it 4, is it 5, or is it 3? And the student can just select their response and it instantly shows me that 1 student has responded. I've got everyone with me. So I'm going to go ahead and move right along. Saber-tooth tiger said 3. And here we have the next problem. Kate sees 6 ducks. 3 ducks fly away. How many ducks are left? For those of you wondering how I'm knowing what to say, the directions are at the bottom of the screen. Now this is a drawing task, so the students are allowed to draw on the screen. You'll notice on the student view on the right hand side that there are many different colors, and one thing that I appreciate is that there are many skin colors as well. How beautiful is that? This is not an online collaboration, so each student will not be able to see each other's drawings. They will only be able to see their own drawing. Very important to note. So in this way, the student may pick bright red and they might say 6 are left. It'll now show me that there's 1 response, but on this student view, it does not show any of the student work. So this would be essentially your forward-facing or your student-facing view. Let's say if you were on Zoom or something like that. So this could be the screen that you are sharing with the students. The teacher view or the presenter view does show you the student responses, and it gives you a couple different ways to see the student responses. There's a list, there's a grid, and there's an overlay, which will show all of the students' responses on top of each other. The grid would have them all listed, so you would scroll down and see each one listed. Personally, I like the grid view. You get to see them all on one screen. And if you wanted to share any of the students' work, if you were on Zoom, let's say, all you would need to do is simply share this screen, and you would be able to show the different student work. For those of you familiar with Desmos, this does not enable you to, let's say, share this response with all students, unfortunately. I think that's a wonderful feature of Desmos. So let's move on to the next slide. Here we have number 2. Oh, so I've filled in that the correct answer had been 3, and that way that clears up any misunderstanding as to which problem the students are meant to work on, and it also shows them an example from the last problem we just did. Now here we have an open response. So here the students could type their responses. There are a lot of little froggies. Yep, that says fridges. Let's just go with frogs. Now, of course, this was not the correct answer, so I just wanted to point out here that PearDeck is not grading for you. It is simply showing you students' responses. It is giving you a way to engage with your students so that you can be a little more interactive than just a traditional slide deck. Again, you've got the list view, so you could scroll back and forth, or you've got the grid layout. Now, one suggestion if you're trying to have a little bit more information about which student is which, especially if you're working in small groups, if you've only got, 5 to 7 students with you, you could begin with a question like, what's your favorite color? Or what did you do this weekend? And then ask each student what their response was, and then you would know who is Saber-Toothed Tiger. So here's an example of a website. So here the question or the prompt is try drawing your own story for I keep flipping too far. The question here is try drawing your own story for 4 and 3 go away. And on the student facing side, on the right hand side, you can see I've got a website. Unfortunately, the website doesn't quite fit, and as I try to zoom in and out on my iPad, it doesn't work. But I would say we've got enough to work with. So I've got 3 go away, and I've got 4 here, and the student has a misconception that there are now 7. Oh dear. Well, now I know to work on what to work on with this student. Note that this is a website view, and so there's nothing for the student to submit. So also really important to note that this doesn't allow the student to submit anything. They're just going to a website, and it's just here on the screen with you. So it creates kind of this split view screen. Another suggestion is if you're having students do some sort of research, let's say you're asking students to research famous women mathematicians. Maybe you're going to have them go to a Math Gal's website and find 5 interesting pieces of information, which you will ask them to report out on the next screen. So just important to note that when you're sharing a website, you don't get to see what they are doing on their website. Very important to note. And lastly, there's an opportunity for students to drag a response. I'll show you the teacher student view. This is just an image I grabbed from the internet. And the student takes their little heart and they just drag it to wherever it is that they're feeling. So let's say we're feeling right about here. And again, you've got the list layout where you can scroll through. You've got the grid layout where you see them all in a grid. Or in this case, the overlay would be really great because you'd get to see the overlay of all the responses. Just want to point out you can offer a new prompt right here in the as you go, and it will give it to them instantly and ask them to draw a picture. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Thank you.